Come on, put your cheerful voice back on.
Oh, there we go. Hello. How are you doing?
I'm doing all right. What's the point you want to make about road safety, Nigel?
Well, I am a regular cyclist. I've been cycling for donkey's years in London and here in Tonbridge. I cycle in Tonbridge 6 days a week to and from work.
Do you feel safe cycling here in Tonbridge?
Yes, I feel safer in London than I do in anywhere out of London because London traffic is geared up for cycling, and I do quite. In the last couple of years, I started cycling a lot more in London. I used to live there, but now I've been going up for regular journeys and meetings and things. And I've come across those orcas up there, and they took me by surprise when I first saw them. I thought, what on earth are those? How are you meant to work them? But, you work it out very quickly, and they divide the traffic up beautifully.
So are they a threat? You're a cyclist. We just heard a guy who doesn't cycle drives a bus who thinks they're a threat to cyclists. Are they a threat, or do they make you safer?
They make you safer, partly because other road users are frightened of them, because they are different, they're unfamiliar, and people find that sort of thing quite scary. Therefore, they give them a rather more attention than they would do a plain white line painted on the road.
The plain white line doesn't afford you any protection at all, does it?
Well, these don't afford you protection either, other than to make you make other road users more consciously aware that there is a lane for other vehicles. A bicycle is a vehicle as well to go along. I mean, if you want a safe and secure cycle lane for cyclists, then you'd have an Armco barrier dividing the traffic as you do in the middle of a dual carriageway.
Presumably we don't have those because it would cost more money.
It would also take up too much road space. There isn't, this is England. England has got 1,000-year-old roads that aren't designed to have that volume of traffic on, and therefore that traffic width. What
about the argument from our bus company manager that they're dangerous for motorcyclists who could clip one?
Well, so's a curb. Why do we have curbs segregating the pavement from the road? Various reasons, keeps them cleaner, but also to as an not as a barrier as such, but as a clear defined point where you don't cross. That is your space. That is somebody else's space. You can drive up on the curb. We all do when we have to park on a narrow street, for those of us who do that sort of thing. If you hit a curb too hard, too quickly, you will burst your tyre. Possibly you will do the same with these orcas as well. But then any piece of street furniture in the street, any giveaway sign, anything like that is potentially you could crash into if you are not paying attention.
What about the threat to pedestrians? We did hear from a pedestrian, or the husband of a pedestrian, who broke her arm very badly on the day these were installed, for precisely the reason, in a sense, that you said that they're helpful, which is that, for the opposite reason. She didn't notice it as a pedestrian because she was keeping her eye on the traffic. If they are causing, as the people of Enfield as well have argued, multiple accidents for pedestrians, do we need a rethink about them?
I think they need to be considered where they are placed. And certainly that poor lady really didn't have a chance, as she wasn't expecting them. They'd just been put out in front of her house, and she went out there, wasn't paying attention to them. Perhaps she should have been, but she didn't, because she wasn't expecting them to be there.
Yes.
So it's perfectly fair. And she went, she went flying, poor woman. More notification about what was going to happen made her aware and conscious that there was something different, so that it may not have happened.
But if that continues to happen, I'm guessing they need a reevaluation, do they?
Oh, certainly, if it continued to happen. But I can't think I'm not aware of many other incidents, particularly with the new ones here in Tonbridge, of any incidents occurring from them, apart from this one tragic one on the first morning. If people were colliding with them on a weekly basis, I think clearly that doesn't work.
Right, so, it needs to keep an eye on. Is it worth it when it's only, we were told, a 500-metre stretch? What's the point?
Well, we don't know why they were put in. So what is the point? The road is quite wide there. I suppose it's possibly an experiment, I'm guessing, by the council to see how I'd love to be able to ask them that question, but they won't talk to us about anything for the duration of the election period for some reason, even though they're not being elected. It seems a great get out of jail free card for not talking to BBC Radio for a while. I know.
What would you like, Nigel? What would you like to make not just you, but kids safer cycling to school, to really kind of make a shift onto bicycles if people want to?
The acknowledgement that cycles are allowed on the road. I think motorists don't really like cyclists because they're on the road and they're slower than they are. Pedestrians don't like cyclists sharing the pavement with them because they're faster than they are. And everybody has it in for a cyclist because unless you are another cyclist, it's either going to be too fast or too slow for you. And nobody really likes anyone in their way. So ideally wider roads that could accommodate us all, but that's not going to happen because we're Britain for all the reasons I explained.
Yes.
Our infrastructure is far too narrow. We need to make the roads slower in built-up areas. As Fran said an hour and a half ago, 20 miles an hour is really what should be across nearly all built-up areas, so that there's and motorists being made aware that it is a 20 mile, not just have the 20 roundel at one end of a road and a mile further on.
Yes, well, and also it would make it a lot nicer for people because a lot of people live on those roads as well. They are home to people, aren't they? I know the road I live on, if people would drive down it a lot slower than the 40 miles an hour they do, it would make it a nicer place to live. So I guess that works for everyone. Lots and lots of food for thought. Thanks for being more cheerful than I thought you were going to be, Nigel.
Sorry.
Great to have you on the show.
Julia.
Thank you very much indeed. That was Nigel in Tonbridge. Feel free to